Welcome back, Yarny friends, and I hope that you've had a great week. My name is Christy, and I am Mama in the Manse. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and Gmail as Mama in a Manse. And this is a knitting podcast, mostly about my knitting adventures. I am the mom of 5 kids, 10 on down to 9 months, and my husband is a pastor. We live in a church-owned home, which is called a manse in the Presbyterian Church. It's also called a rectory in the Catholic Church, and a lot of other denominations call it a parsonage, but basically it's the church house. So that's where the name came from, Mom in a Manse. We've had quite a few new subscribers just in the last week, and so I wanted to kind of throw that in there as well. You can come over to the Mama in a Manse Ravelry group and introduce yourself. There's a thread there if you have any questions or suggestions that you would like to hear about on the podcast to let me know. You can also share what your 2018 creating goals are. I have mine in there, and if you want to share and just use it as a list to come back and edit throughout the year and see what you've accomplished. My kitten Pineapple is helping me with the podcast today and is laying right on top of my notes. So, and also, oh, there he goes. And he was laying right under the tripod legs, and so I expected when he got up that he would make that shake, but I don't think he did. So let's see. Yarn goals, introduce. That's also where you can find the show notes for each week. I think one of the weeks I did miss. I actually have to upload my YouTube videos not in my house, and so by the time I get my computer back, sometimes I forget to do the show notes, but most of them are there. If you have any questions that I don't have in the show notes, please let me know, and I think I will jump right in. So for finished objects this week, it's just been a week. This is the first time that I've done on this new schedule of trying to podcast on Wednesdays. And so I don't have as many finished objects, but let's just start going. So Isaiah turned 8 on Thursday, so the day after I podcast, and so I let him pick the dishcloth color. He picked Knit Picks Dishy in the Clementine colorway, and I finished one. Their grandma's dishcloth is the pattern that I'm using. As you can see, Mike has been slacking and ends are not woven in. I really hate weaving in ends. But I have one done, and we'll finish out the rest of that hopefully soon. But Isaiah was excited that there would be orange dishcloths or washcloths. Last week I did share that I had finished a spun hat by Callie Berg. And if you watched all the way through the video, you would have seen Isaiah wearing the hat when I talked about it being his birthday when I was sharing about life in the manse. But I don't know that you would necessarily know that that was the hat unless you'd seen it before. So this is the hat that I made for him. That's the top of it and how it swirls around. And I like it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to do the twist. It is a free pattern, so it uses a right twist. But he really likes it. He wears it a lot. He has really, really big ears, and I made this 2 pattern, I believe. I don't think I took any stitches out, and it's even with his ears, it was kind of big on him. So when I went to make Isaac, who is our 3-year-old one, I took a lot of stitches out. So my second finished object is Isaac's hat. I took the repeats are 8, and so I took 8 stitches out, and it's actually kind of tight on him. So I don't know. There is like a 2-inch difference in their heads because I measured them when I was starting to do Emma Jo's, the hat pattern that I'm writing. But this is Isaac's. He put it on. His dad asked him if he liked it. He said no and ripped it off and threw it on the floor. So he may not be very knit-worthy. He has been pretty mean to me the last couple days because he keeps telling me he's daddy's boy, and won't have anything to do with me. I think he just thinks it's funny, but it's kind of obnoxious. And then my last finished object. Oh, pineapple. Way to put your tail through the cord. Sorry for that. Are my Pisces socks. I talked about these last week and I decided to just stop. I had this much done after the heel and I could not face another like 3 or 4 inches of doing this. So I stopped them there. So they're not shorty, but they're pretty short. This yarn is the Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering. Whoops. I'm just being clumsy today. It was not my favorite to knit with. It is a bigger yarn. There were only 357 yards in 100 grams, which most of the other fingering weight yarns I use are between 4 and 460. So it felt a lot bigger, and there were also, and it felt like I was knitting with cotton. These have not been blocked either. I just finished the ribbing so that I could call them a finished object on the podcast. It felt like I was knitting with cotton, truthfully. They're not soft. They have no stretch or bounce. And as you can see up here, there are, I don't know, can you see it? There are little cables up and down each side. And between it being too big for the needles that I was using, and really just not a stretchy yarn, I could not do anymore. So I made them shorter. But that's okay. Live and learn. I will know next time to cast on even fewer stitches, because I think I have a few more skeins of the Hawthorne Fingering. So I will make sure that I cast on like for a kid's sock if I'm making it for me, because I need to use a bigger needle with this, and definitely will not do any kind of cabling or anything that needs a little bit of stretch to move the yarns around, because I was just not finding that enjoyable. It wasn't really the pattern, it was mostly the yarn, and having those cables in there was just a no-go for me. So those are finished, and they fit good. They're fine. I did do a little bit of rib down here because I was just sure that they were going to be way too big because they were just so wide. And they fit when I put them on my foot. I'll see after I've worn them a little bit if they're just way too big and have to be given away. I keep hitting my drink, sorry. So that's all of my finished objects. I kind of got obsessed with something that I will show you later in my whips, and so I did not get a lot of work done on other things. I did work on my longline cardi this week by Joji Locatelli. I'm not going to show it. It's like this much knitting that I got done, and I'm almost to the waist decreases, but it doesn't really look any different, even though there's like maybe 2.5, 3 extra inches from the last time I showed it. So I'm just going to leave that for this week. Hopefully I will be getting that done. I am planning on taking that when I travel this weekend. So hopefully I will have some time to work on that, because it's probably the most mindless knit that I have right now, truthfully. And it's a cardigan. That's kind of weird. But anyways, yes. So then on March 1st, the new expat pattern came out, knitting expat. You can't see the pattern even when it's in color, but it is called the, I want to say derive or derive socks. But it is a spontaneous and unplanned journey where the traveler is guided by the landscape. All of the Wanderlust collection is some kind of on that theme of traveler wanting to go. And so this is the March Wanderlust. It's the second in that collection. It is living in my Beach Dreams bags. I am boycotting winter. So it's dirty. How about I show you this side? I'm boycotting winter, so I put away all my wintry bags. I took my wreaths down. I'll let you know how that turned out here in a bit. But I am using the first time using Hedgehog, and this was the Man on the Moon colorway that I got in the Hedgehog Sock Club. I think it was my first month too. But, oh my goodness. Doing these 2 at a time, toe up. It is deliciously. It looks a lot greener. Actually, this light, it looks pretty green anyways. It looked really neon green in the skein, and then when I was knitting with it, I'm like, it looks like highlighter yellow, not green. Let's see if you can see the pattern any better if I stretch it out. Yeah, you can a little bit. So I am doing these 56 stitches on size 1 needles. I'm using the ChowGoo Red Lace 47-inch magic loop cable. And I also I've been working on figuring out how to make like a perfect rounded toe, doing it toe up. There's a little bit of a thing, but I think that'll go away. And I think I finally figured it out for my size, so that's the way I'm going to do it. I prefer the look and the fit of a rounded toe, but I prefer going toe up because I don't like to Kitchener, and I like to try it on. I'm a lot more nervous going from the heel to the toe and trying to, how far do I need to go? How far do I need to go? I don't know why it seems different, but I prefer the toe up. And also, doing them 2 at a time, I don't get second sock syndrome because I'm so over something by the time I finish it. I'm very much a project knitter and not a process knitter. But those have not been getting a lot of love since, like, Isaiah's birthday was March 1st, and so I worked on them that day when we went to the play place, and I haven't done a lot on them since because I decided to cast on something else. And I decided to do a free your fade. I got the pattern for participating in Knit Stars back in October. Here's the main picture. Of course, it's in black and white, so you can't really see any fades. And I had originally bought these yarns for my sister shawl, which I ended up changing the colors of and going with a Midnight Knit Cravings. But I really loved how these went together, and truthfully, had I done it differently, it would have made a gorgeous fade. But I didn't really want to do it in this way. For some reason, I really thought it looked awesomer this way. So that's what I did. It's not your exact typical fade, but I quite like it. So I started with the Obsidian and went into the August 17, which is the white color. I've got yarn going everywhere. Okay, so the August and then the September 17, and these are Ba La Jolla. And I think it's La Jolla. It says it's hand painted in the US, so I am not assuming that the J is a H sound, like if it was Spanish. But this is really, I love this yarn. It's really nice. And I really like how this is coming out. I have about 2.5 of the pattern repeats. I don't even know if you can see them really on camera, but from here to the next eyelet section, that's a pattern repeat. And so I have about 2.5 of those, and then a picot bind off down the whole side. Oh, I just pulled my needle out. Oh no. And I'm hoping to have this done for, okay, I'm gonna have to fix that one. Oh, that wasn't as scary as it could have been. I'm wanting to have this shawl done because I'm leaving tomorrow and I want to be able to wear it. I feel like I've been making a lot of really colorful shawls, but also like the favorite outfits that I picked out to travel with are patterned. Like most of all the shirts actually have some sort of pattern on them. And so the really colorful shawls are not my style to wear with a patterned shirt. So this, I feel like, because of the purple being really a neutrally purple gray in all reality, and this gray being kind of there's a little hint of purple to it, but it's mostly gray, and then this cream has purple and blue and everything else. I feel like this would go with almost every outfit I'm taking, and so I'm going to try to finish this tonight so I can block it and have it ready to go before we leave tomorrow at like noon. So hopefully, my rows are kind of long and all that jazz, so I'm hoping it can get done. But fingering weight shawls only take like a few hours to dry, so even if I did the bind off early in the morning tomorrow, I think it would maybe still be dry, but I'm hoping for something better than that. I'm being super classy and not messing up my lipstick by using a straw in my pop. And also so I don't slurp and embarrass myself. Okay, so the next thing that I've been doing a lot of takes us into the yarn porn section and dream knitting. And as I mentioned, I am boycotting winter. I am done with it. I love winter. I like for there to be snow whenever it is cold outside. I always want a white Christmas. I am not an against winter type of person, but I am now. It is like March 7th, and we normally have pretty much everywhere I've lived, actually, because I grew up in Missouri and Nebraska, and we lived in Dubuque, Iowa, on the Mississippi River for 4 years. And everywhere I've lived, we had about 1 week in January that was just god-awful cold and just terrible, like bad weather. And I was okay with that. But we have had that 1 week of January weather since Christmas. It has gone on and on and on. It's disgusting. So anyways, I'm boycotting winter. I'm done with it. It needs to go away and not come back until at least November. It's not working out very well, but my stash enhancement, yarn porn, dream knitting all has to do with that boycott of winter. Because I decided I was going to make a bunch of new summer tops. We registered for the, it's called Synod School. Basically, it's kind of a church camp for the entire family. And that's where I'm teaching knitting this summer. It'll be my first time teaching a class. And I want to take stuff, but I also wanted to be able to wear some knits. So I was like, well, I could make a fingering weight hat and I could probably wear that, but it's the end of July. And so I wanted something more than just a hat. I don't even know that I could get away with socks. So I got a few patterns. I had one gifted to me and I bought yarn for them. So the first I got was, and I'm sorry, this one's in crinkly paper. Anne B. Hansen had a pattern book. She had posted this true romance on, actually I think it was in the Hot Right Now on Ravelry. Here's a picture of the whole thing. But it was in a pattern book with 5 tops that were all summery. And so there were 3 of them that I really liked, and thought that I would wear and want to knit, so I bought the entire book. The True Romance I'm going to do in Knit Picks Lindy Chain Mist. It is a 70% linen, 30% Pima cotton, and so this one's going with that, and it was sealed in the package, so I didn't want to open it just to show it, but it's not, I mean, it's a light gray. Nothing super great, but I think it'll be pretty in that. The second one from that collection is Love Story, and see if there's a different picture. This is actually showing the front of it. There's a little bit of lace detailing at the back and up at the neckline. And I believe from the picture on Ravelry here at the back of the neck where her hair is covering, I think there might be another like little lace section, but I can't be sure because I looked at a lot of stuff. I'm making that in Cotton Eggplant, also from Knit Picks. All of them are from Knit Picks actually. This is DK weight, and it is 70% Tangus cotton and 30% linen. So it's going to be this really dark purple color. Also, I kind of like changed my setup a little bit, and I'm actually facing out the window, and the lighting seems to be a little bit better, so I'm kind of excited about that. And then the last one from that collection is Shayla's Lace Top. And I am not going to do it that short. I will lengthen it somehow. But you don't want to see this muffin top. I've had 5 kids. So I won't make it that short, but I do think that it is really cute. It'll be cute with a pair of shorts. And I am making this in Shine Sport in the Wisteria colorway. And this stuff, it is 60% Pima cotton and 40% modal. It is so silky. I love the feel of this. Like, I almost wish more of my shirts had been in the sport weight because I think that this is going to be lovely. I will let you know how I like it once I've knit with it, but the feel of it, it is nice feeling. Then another one that I've had in my wish list for a really long time was Morning Mist by Annie Claire, and it's called, or it is called, it's the Morning Mist, and it's a springtime tee. It has this lace at the back, and then the rest of it is solid. It mostly shows the back in the pictures, but the front is plain, and I am doing it in this Rocket for the main color, which is a gray. I feel like that maybe looks a little bit more purple than it is, but it's gray, and the whisker for the lace, and those are also Cotton. And then the last one, for reward or payment or whatever, for doing the Baby Novice for Laura Nelkin, the test knit that I showed a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, but the baby sweater that I test knitted for Laura Nelkin, for that she gifted me a pattern, and I picked Pacificus, which is this springy summery time tee. It has lace right here on the sides as well. And I'm going to do that in Lindy Chain. Here's some lace detailing that's down the side. I'm doing that in Plum. And that's a pretty accurate color, I think. It's basically like the color of my top, only a little bit grayer. So those are my summer tops that I am going to be using to boycott winter, hopefully. My last stash enhancement was my row 1 for this month. Hold on just a second. Sorry. this month it was from Backyard Fiberworks. This is actually the first one I've gotten that I was not familiar with the dyer beforehand, or had not at least like heard of them. I've never had yarns from any of the people that I've gotten them from yet. But this one I hadn't really heard of. The base is strong sock. It's 80/20. And truthfully, I really, really, really love these colors. I'll try to grab them. But these colors, they're very vibrant and just quite lovely. This is probably one of my favorites that I've gotten. I don't know how far these will stack before they start all falling off. I'm gonna grab the other ones with my other hand, hopefully. So I'm actually going to pack these up and take them as my minis to work on some blanket squares. Here are the other ones. I'm going to use these to make blanket squares for my pinwheel scrap blanket, because I just really love the colors. There's so many really great ones. And I also feel like the pinwheel scrap blanket is something that I can really like not have to pay attention to very much at all, since I will be around another person. Okay. As far as culture consumed goes, I haven't found any new podcasts this week. I haven't looked. I was actually going back and watching all of the old Mean Girls, and I really love that podcast. So I have now watched all of them. And then Netflix, last night I found Broadchurch and watched a couple episodes of that. It's like a murder mystery type thing set in like Britain or something. My husband had heard of it, knew what it was, like guessed from hearing it playing on my computer. I'd never heard of it before, but I was just trying to find something different to watch, because I've been waiting on him to watch a whole lot of other things. So for my February stats, since this is the first one that's officially out of February, I had hoped that I would actually finish some more stuff that night after I podcasted, but I did not. So that's why I didn't share my February stats last time. I did finish 4 rainbow projects in February for the Suburban Stitcher Rainbow Along, and those 4 were part of the 12 projects I finished in February. They were not necessarily big projects, but I was pretty happy. Like when I actually started adding that up, 12 projects in a month, that was pretty decent for me. I did 3 socks, one of which doesn't really count that much because it was the yoga socks, but I also did my warm and cozy and my swirly socks. So 2 real pairs and a pair of yoga socks, a baby sweater, my Mega Row shawl, which is a pretty huge project. I finished only 1 spun hat in March, and the Emma Jo hat that I showed last week, 2 blanket squares, and 3 dishcloths. And I ended up having 4 whips that were like current on the needles at the end, which were a sock, a hat, my sweater, and my stole. The sock and the hat could have been finished that night if I'd worked on them, but I did not. The sweater is still ongoing, and the stole I haven't touched since the last time that I showed you guys. Yeah. So that is all of my knitting content, pretty much. Life in the Manse this week, I've shared kind of a lot of the stuff. We went down to the Mahoney Play Place for my son's birthday, and the next day on Friday, the kids played outside and they wore jackets. And then yesterday we had like this surprise blizzard thing and school was canceled. We did not get snow to make it a blizzard. I don't even know what you call it. Like a wind event? Like, I don't know what it is. But the wind was awful. It was like 35 miles an hour, gusting up to in the 50s. And they kept canceling the snow. I think we were only supposed to get like 1 or 2 inches, but it was just blowing so hard. So they closed school, I guess, because of the visibility. And we thought that we could make it into town for the 4 appointments that we had in the afternoon, and got about halfway there, and there was about 6 inches of drifted snow that was all like torn up and on the highway, and visibility went to 0, and you know, the snow had stopped by then, and it was fine for the first 8 miles, and then those last 10 was awful. I'm so over winter. Like, this is ridiculous. It just needs to stop. Everybody was sick again this weekend. The baby started out, we thought maybe, oh, you know, the teething poops that they get. Then she started throwing up all over the place, and then Isaac started throwing up. Everybody but me and Emma got it. So I'm hoping that both of us were kind of patient 0 last weekend, but that was the 3rd Sunday in a row that I have not been to church. So basically, I'm completely failing at being a pastor's wife. This weekend, well, tomorrow, I am leaving to go to Kansas City to a Preacher's Wife conference, or what did we name it? Trying to think of the name that we came up for it. Pastor's Spouse Extraordinaire Stress Relief and Support Conference or something like that. Like, I made up this ridiculous name to tell my husband that I needed to go to this conference. And my friend who lives on the other side of St. Louis is going to meet me in Kansas City, and we are having a stress relief and support conference for pastors' spouses. So, it will be her birthday, so I'm hoping to get to the yarn store on our way out of town. Well, not on our way out of town, but when we go through the real town of Omaha, to get her some things because she wants me to teach her how to knit. So that's on the agenda for this weekend. And also, I've scouted out a couple of yarn places to go. There was a place that had a whole bunch of local yarns in Kansas City that I wanted to go, but it's kind of, my friend told me where it was by telling me it's like in this district, in the West Bottoms or something. Like, you're just making up words. I don't know what you're talking about. And then there was one that was like strongly recommended out in Lawrence, and as it turns out, she is a KU grad. Is it KU? Whatever the Jayhawks are is where she graduated from. Where, whatever's in Lawrence. I don't even know, because I don't ever purposely go to Kansas. I had to drive through there once a couple years ago when my mom still lived in Nebraska and we lived in Missouri, and the Missouri River was so flooded that you couldn't go up I-29, and so we had to drive through Kansas, and it was the longest trip of my life. Anyways, Kansas is not a place that you go to enjoy the scenery. But we are going to Lawrence, and there's a place called the Yarn Barn that was very strongly recommended to me, and so we're going to go there. Ashley wants to go there so she can be like, this is where I met my husband, and this is where I like had my first apartment and stuff like that. And I'm going to be like, there's a huge yarn shop. And we're also going to brunch there because we're super classy. But that's pretty much what I have planned. We're just going to hang out at the hotel and just take some time. Self-care, I guess. I have seen her once since she moved in March of 14. Yeah, so once in 3 years. We went was it last year? We went last year? No, it wasn't last year. I think it was the year before that we went, and we went to St. Louis and went to the zoo and saw them, and then we went to see our other friends further up in Illinois, and then we went to Dubuque where we went to seminary, and then stopped in Des Moines to see more seminary friends, and then came home. So we made this huge loop. But last year we didn't see Ashley, so I'm gonna see her and have some fun and enjoy myself. But that is about all I have for you today, and I hope that you enjoy your week and you are enjoying your yarn. Make sure that you subscribe and join the Ravelry group. Introduce yourself, share your thoughts and feelings. Don't be a lurker. I don't even know. But anyways, enjoy your yarn, and thanks for stopping by.